The Soviets are about to let loose an enormous offensive on the Eastern Front. You may remember that when the Axis launched Fall Blau, and also the Battle of Kursk, I did deployment specials for all you deployment enthusiasts out there. And with this Soviet offensive just about to begin, I thought I'd do the same today. I'm Indy Neidell. This is a World War II deployment special episode. Before I get going, I'd like to say that most of the numbers I use today come from John Ericsson's The Road to Berlin, although there are many sources about this series of offensives, and the deployments and targets and such are pretty much the same between sources. Okay, the main force of the attacks is by three huge reinforced fronts. First Ukrainian and first and second Belarusian, though there are supporting attacks by other fronts as well. The two central fronts in the east, Georgy Zhukov's 1st Belarusian and Ivan Konyev's 1st Ukrainian, have close to 2.5 million men between them, with 6,500 tanks and self-propelled guns, 4,772 planes, and 32,143 big guns and mortars. That is half of all the armor and a third of the rifles on the entire Soviet front. Each front has 8 infantry and 2 tank armies and an air army and 4 or 5 mobile formations like a mechanized cavalry or tank corps. Soviet superiority was both absolute and awesome. 5-fold in manpower, 5-fold in armor, over 7-fold in artillery, and 17 times the German strength in the air. The average density in infantry formations was 1 rifle division per 3.7 kilometers, with 64 guns and 12 tanks to a kilometer, all along an offensive front which stretched for 300 miles. The Soviet objective, an advance to the river Oder, lay more or less the same distance, 300 miles, from the start line on the middle reaches of the Vistula. Other than that drive to the Oder, Konstantin Rokossovsky's 2nd Belarusian front is to attack from northeast of Warsaw, heading northwest to the Baltic Sea around Danzig. This is to both protect Zhukov's flank and also cut off East Prussia. In East Prussia, Ivan Cherniakovsky's 3rd Belarusian front is to advance on Königsberg, and 1st Baltic will attack on its flank towards Tilsit, and also to continue to try to take Memo. For the past month, 2nd and 3rd Belarusian fronts have been regrouping, and there have been transfers and things from 1st Baltic to organize this very complicated series of offensives with a lot of moving parts. Rokossovsky, by the way, took over his front from Georgy Zakharov. His 3 field armies, 3rd, 48th, and 50th, have been beefed up with 2nd Shock Army from 3rd Baltic Front and 5th Guards Tank Army from 1st Baltic. He also now has 49th, 65th, and 70th armies now that his southern boundary has been shifted to cover where the Narev meets the Vistula. Cherniakovsky has 5 armies, 5th, 11th Guards, 28th, 31st, and 39th, and each front has an air army. And they also have 6 mobile corps between them, so their combined strength is 1.67 million men, 28,360 big guns and mortars, 3,300 tanks and self-propelled guns, and 3,000 or so planes. So those 4 fronts, right, have 4 operations supposed to break through, to Königsberg, to Danzig, across the Vistula, and from the Sandomier's bridgehead. That is 30 regular armies, 5 tank armies, and 4 air armies. And who opposes them? Well, Georg Hans Reinhardt's Army Group Center has 3rd Panzer, 4th, and 2nd armies in East Prussia and in Poland along the Narev down to the Vistula. And Josef Harpe's Army Group A has 4th Panzer, 9th, and 17th armies from north of Warsaw down to the Carpathians. They are the ones who stand in the way of the main thrusts. Ferdinand Schoner's Army Group North has 16th and 18th armies, but they're sealed up in Courland, and they can't affect the defensive battles in Poland or East Prussia. Groups Center and A together have about 1 million men in 41 divisions, 7 of those panzer divisions and 6 motorized, a bit over 1,800 tanks and self-propelled guns, and nearly 800 planes. The opening day of the offensives was set at between the 15th and 20th of January. There are some commanders, like Konyev, who later say it was specifically the 20th. The original plans for specific targets were modified at the end of November, with Zhukov's axis now aligned on Poznan and Konyev's on Breslau. Side note, Ivan Petrov's 4th Ukrainian Front is preparing for joint operations with Koniev's left against Krakow and Silesia. A special feature of Koniev's operations was the need to preserve the Silesian industrial area intact. When Koniev presented his operational proposals to Stalin at the end of November, Stalin's finger carefully traced the outline of the massive Silesian industrial basin, at which he uttered only a single word: gold. Koniev needed no further explanation. Liberating this region must at all costs preclude destroying it. So these are the operational goals. The strategic and tactical ones we'll see in more detail once the offensives begin. One big thing, though, that the Soviets have been working furiously on the past couple months is repairing the shattered railway network of Eastern Europe, especially running east from the Vistula and the railway bridges. This, of course, to make supplying the vast enterprise easier. Over 1,200 trainloads of supplies, each to Koniev and Zhukov, have been dumped for them in their depots. Here's a couple more numbers to throw at you. 22,000 trucks are in service just with 1st Belarusian Front, bringing over 900,000 more tons of supplies. It's a lot. Just that front needs gas for 2,500 planes and 4,000 tanks. And as for food, 1st Belarusian Front needs 25,000 tons a day. 1,150 tons of bread, 220 tons of meat, 1,500 tons of vegetables, 44 tons of sugar. Even with that 220 tons of meat, they still have to have meatless days because that represents a shortage. As for Koniev, along his 70-kilometer Sandomier's bridgehead, Soviet engineers have laid 30 bridges over the Vistula and have 3 heavy ferries in service, and they've either repaired or built 2,000 total kilometers of road to avoid traffic jams by giving each division or tank brigade 2 good roads. Here's something Koniev has also done to hopefully make his tasks easier. Okay, he wants to make the Germans think a major attack by him is coming from his left, his southern flank. So his preparations down there have been noisy and obvious and include 400 wooden tanks, 1,000 fake artillery pieces, and a newly built road network for this major left-wing attack. It looks like Army Group A has taken the bait. And if they have, then they're in for some real trouble soon. Since history does not happen in a vacuum, though, events last week elsewhere have affected just when this is all going to go up. See, back on the 6th, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill asked Joseph Stalin about an attack in the east to try to relieve some of the tension in the Ardennes, where even though the German attacks had stalled, the fighting was very much going to continue and to continue being bloody. On the 7th, Stalin tells him basically, sure. And then the 8th, Koniev gets a call from Alexei Antonov, Deputy Chief of Staff, but often acting Chief of Staff because of Alexander Vasilevsky's many frontline missions representing Stavka, saying that 1st Ukrainian Front is to attack already the 12th. Koniev is cool with that, though he realizes he will likely be unable to use air power because of the prevailing weather conditions. The next front to attack is not to be Zhukov's, though, but Cherniakovsky's 3rd Belarusian, the 13th. This is to be followed the 14th by Zhukov's 1st and Rokossovsky's 2nd Belarusian fronts. This not only hopefully helps Stalin's Western allies, but does have the added bonus that the Soviets will all be on the move before the Germans can bring reserves eastward, should they want to. Yes, the weather will be bad for flying, but the cold will be very good for ground movement. Well, that is the general situation here on the Eastern Front on January the 11th, 1945. You'll see more details about who does what, when they do it, and where they do it as the various offensives explode and the future continues to unravel. Or maybe not. Maybe you won't see anything happen on the Eastern Front. I mean, for weeks now, Heinz Guderian and company have been warning Adolf Hitler about a huge impending Soviet offensive. But Hitler says it's all just a fantasy, and they have no such thing planned. If he's right, then tomorrow will be a calm day in the East. And if he's wrong, then it won't. Hey, you should go back and check out the deployment special for the Battle of Kursk a year and a half ago. It is very interesting, and you can see it right here. And for more such specials, join the TimeGhost Army at timeghost.tv or patreon.com, for that is what allows us to do them. See you next time.